recording. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I'd like to open the floor now for anyone to reflect and provide what they learned from today in this community of practice. I'll hand it off to Sister Amira Mustafa and Sister Amira Khan to maybe start off in terms of what they got out of it and then transition on the baton to all the individuals here. So, sisters, if you want to go ahead and begin, Jazakumullah khair.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. So just some reflections that I've learned. One reflection I think that really stood out to me the most is how important it is to mentor and teach and share the things that we're doing, in our own communities with other people. For me, I think I mentioned this to a couple of folks, or a little bit earlier as well. I graduated a couple of years ago. I'm a young professional pretty early on into my own career. But I was, during undergrad and grad school, I was very involved with my Muslim community and my MSA, and did all of that work and other stuff. But as you all were sharing, some of the reasons or your why as to why you're involved with the MSA. And even during some of the community of practices yesterday, the questions that you all were asking, right? About, hey, how do I get to know my MSA members? How do I plan the right events, right? How do I make sure that the events that I'm doing is actually impactful for my community? So many of those questions are also questions that I remember I had when I was in y'all's exact footsteps, right? The first time I became an MSA officer. So as you guys were sharing those things yesterday, I kind of kept thinking back to man, if just a few years ago I had someone who, when it was my first time being an MSA officer, if I had someone who could share all of those information or there's tips or those advice for me, that would have been so helpful, right? Alhamdulillah, I stuck with being an MSA officer for a couple of years, and over the years I learned, through those experiences, but it would have been super helpful if I had known or if I had talked to an MSA, even if they were from a different state, but an MSA that was maybe the same size as us, had similar issues to us as well, and we could talk to each other and bounce ideas off of each other. So I really learned the value of mentorship just from hearing the responses that you all had and shared with each other. And it definitely emphasized, I think, the work that we are all doing together and how individually we might be doing really great things, but if we come together and share the different things that we're learning, right, we can elevate each other's work even more and support the growth of our ummah together. So that was just a really big thing that I noticed this weekend, and alhamdulillah, I'm really glad that and happy that you all were, so welcoming into sharing some of the experiences that you guys are going through in your own MSAs.
And echoing off of that, I feel very similarly to Sister Amira. I wish that I had these opportunities to get to know one another and access to these resources. If I knew about msaNational when I was president during my time, I would have 100% reached out. It's just nice to get, what I've learned is that it's really great and it's nice to get new perspectives on different things that an MSA might go through. And at the end of the day, we're all Muslim, we're all trying to achieve the same mission. And even we're all talking about unity, we were all talking about unity within our communities. So imagine unity among MSAs nationally. That would have made a huge difference. And that's something that I wish I took advantage of when I was in your positions, and something that I'll keep in mind in the future as I progress throughout different other positions with working with youth, just to reach out and just to go and find these new resources and really take advantage of that.
Beautiful. Do you want to popcorn someone else, Sister Amira?
What about MD Azad? What are some of your reflections? I know you mentioned previously that you had to type, so that's okay too. If you guys want to share your reflections in the chat, that's totally okay. In the meantime, what about Talib? Do you have any reflections that you'd like to share?
Can you remind me reflections on?
Just the weekend overall.
Yeah, I really enjoyed just being able to see the other various MSA leaders, um, see their perspectives and see how I really enjoyed figuring out that we're all pretty similar. Like regardless of what university we're at, um, all over the country, that we all kind of deal with the same issues within our MSA, within our communities. So it definitely makes me feel a lot less like lonely within our community, that we're not dealing with a unique issue or anything like that. Like everyone deals with certain issues, certain communities, and uh, it's nothing to worry about. It's something that we all have to deal with and have to overcome to make the community stronger. So that's something that I definitely was able to take away.
That's awesome. What about Sana? Do you have anything to add? Okay, perfect. You beat me to it. She said, my takeaways are what we can accomplish as a community and how important it is for us as Muslims to be united. 100%. I agree with that. Sister Mansoura, do you have any thoughts and reflections from this weekend or from today's session?
Today's session, we got some websites, and people stated their why in the team, or like that. I'm still in process. I'm still gathering information.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that reflection, Sister Manzura. I just want to read what Brother MD Azad put on the chat. He said, from these 2 days, specifically during the community of practice, I realized that my MSA deals with similar, if not same issues, such as being able to promote inclusivity. Listening to the ways other clubs around the states deal with it gave me more insight onto how to tackle these problems in my community. SubhanAllah, right? So resonating that same idea of like sharing, best practices, the real life things that are going on in our own community. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sister Sana put, and that the impact of our initiatives are making a huge impact. Yes, absolutely, right. That's a big thing that we always, I think everyone really wants to drive home, is this point that like what you're doing right now will make a huge effect and impact to the people around you, as well as, in the very near future. Brother Dia said, it goes back to when I said pleasing Allah and learning about other perspectives about MSA and taking that as a note. And my MSA is a small one, and I thought I was the only one. Right, subhanAllah, right? So knowing that you're not alone in this mission, in this journey that you're going through, that there are so many people who are in a very similar place, but you guys are all ultimately doing it from a place of love and wanting to do it to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So if you come in with that intention and that mindset, being able to share the reality of what it is that your MSA is going through, it becomes a lot easier, right? Because together, if we can talk about these issues and the things that we're going through, we'll be able to navigate all these obstacles together. And you won't have to feel alone or feel like you're the only person in the entire world going through something like this. Awesome. Thank you so much for everyone for sharing that. Was there anyone else who wanted to share something? I'm sorry if I missed someone.
Just one thing I wanted to add was I like the part that you mentioned in your presentation about the grassroots local efforts that we do, rather than, because like with our MSA, like we have a larger MSA, so like we sometimes tend to like think about how can we get more people involved, how can we like throw these really like extravagant events. But what you mentioned about like keeping it small, how do we build our own community, and then over time that's what's going to make a bigger impact, I think was something that really struck home for me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that, Brother Tahir. Yeah, I mean, if your MSA like does big, really great, extravagant things, that's awesome for sure. But I think a good thing to remember is that those are always secondary to our main mission and our objective of serving our community first and foremost, right? SubhanAllah, you can have an event with 1,000 people, but if y'all don't even have Jummah on campus, right? If you don't even have a prayer space on campus, then how are we like really and truly serving the Muslims in our school, right? Which is our ultimate purpose, or the real audience that we're trying to serve. So thank you so much for sharing that, Brother Tahir. There's always even when our MSAs are really big and really great and tremendous in numbers, there's always ways for us to improve the work that we're doing, or at least kind of realign the work that we're doing to what our primary purpose is. Awesome. Any other takeaways or reflections you all want to share before we go ahead and move on?
I want to know, is there somebody else from Brooklyn, Kingsborough College or Brooklyn College in our team here now to know who is near to me? Is there somebody else?
I don't think anyone here is from Kingsborough. Is that in Brooklyn, in New York?
Yeah, Brooklyn has around me 2 colleges like Brooklyn College and Kingsborough College.
Okay.
Nobody's.
I don't think anyone here, but Sister Manzura, what I'll do is I'll also look to see if maybe we have anyone who's in or close to those communities. And inshallah, I'll try and connect you, okay?
Thank you.
Awesome. Alrighty. I think we're good with reflections. Brother Ahmed, if you want to go ahead and move us along to our next.
Beautiful. Jazakumullah khairan, everyone. Go ahead and just pause this real quick.